stuck together. And so that's what I suppose we started 5 years ago really with a back of the envelope kind of waterfall chart. We've now gone through and we're deep diving into each of those issues. And the numbers are starting to sort of show that that deficit that was 17% has now been reduced to 4%. And I think the next version of this you'll probably see it go below and we'll get even further than the target as well. So the point is, unless you ever put that target out there, you don't do the work to see if you can achieve it. So you've got to base the target on what you need to achieve, not what you think is actually possible at the time. And that's really one of the secrets of how we've been able to do as much work as we can. We had a Lord Mayor and CEO who are extremely committed to this, and they really had, I suppose, the commitment, the courage to make those kind of commitments in the public domain and at the right time. And finally, greening our own operations. Look, you can't really be pushing these kind of strategies, this kind of vision, unless you really got your own house in order. Absolutely number one. Every government department should be, they're the ones who should be committing to those green buildings, to facilitate that green building market happening. They're the ones who should be leading by example. So this is the profile of the energy use within our own property portfolio. We have about 225 buildings, about $3.5 million worth. We're about 45,000 tonnes of CO2 across our portfolio, and most of that is used in commercial buildings, and then the other third is street lights. And we'll sit here if you're wondering, this is actually Lady Gaga using energy in the town hall. So so this is the water profile. So we've got parks. This time, buildings also use a lot of water, and but this time the parks will be other user. So as we talked about in the introduction, we are a carbon neutral council, and we started out, I suppose this is worth telling, we started out probably 6 or 7 years ago. The council wanted to be green, and we really kind of started from a low base. And so what can we do now to at least get it started, because we know these projects are going to take years to kind of push forward. So the council made a commitment to buy green power for all our electricity. Green power is very expensive in the city, and so we did that for a number of years, but the council started looking at that cost going, that's a very big cost we're putting out every year. And so we actually changed our strategy, which is, for that reason, the cost, but also for another a leadership position as well. Instead of buying green power, we then converted 5 or 6 years worth of that budget into a capital budget, and we started to put renewable energy on our own buildings. And the reason for that is because we're a government entity, we own our buildings for a very long time. And so a 10-year payback on a PV system is not really a huge issue for us. We can afford to do that because those cells are going to be sitting there for 25, 30, 40 years, and after that sort of 10-year payback, you're going to be getting free energy. So we converted that into a renewable energy fund, $12 million renewable energy fund. I think that was $5 million. But the other part of this was that there was a new federal government standard, it was the National Carbon Offset Standard. And really, it's great for us to say that we're carbon neutral, but we really needed some external verification of that, and so we were the first council to go through that, the first government agency in the whole of Australia to go through that process and gain the certification. And so we also have our own waterfall chart, and because we are asking the community to achieve 70%, we set the same target for ourselves. 70% reduction by 2030, whole suite of actions here. We were doing quite well in terms of energy efficiency for our portfolio until the council decided to buy some new buildings, which kind of put things out of whack there by 3 or 4%. But our targets are absolute. They're not intensity targets, they're absolute targets. And you can see here 2012 emissions was the target was 20% reduction, so that was like the interim target. We achieved 26%, so we did meet that target, which was great, and we're continuing to roll out a suite of action plans, so I'm just going to utilise on some of these actions. So the usual things you'd expect: energy efficiency, LED lights in our street lighting portfolio, and also fleet actions as well as local generation through solar and also through trade generation. So our property portfolio, 48% is the target for reduction. We're probably at about 42, 44. But because of that new building we're building, or we bought it's probably come down a little bit from that, but we need to come back and see how we can achieve for that overall. LED lighting, we are quite different to many other councils. We own about 40% of our streetlights. Most of the other councils in Sydney, their streetlights are owned by the energy utility. And so this gave us a mechanism to lead by example. So we are converting and have almost completed the conversion of all of our streetlights. They've got 8 or 9,000 streetlights with LED streetlights, reducing the consumption by 40 to 50%. So that's been quite a successful program, and really we're using that as a catalyst to get the energy network owners to convert the lights from the other councils and the rest of our lights as well. And this is, I suppose, one of those kind of examples where you've got good leadership within the council, in the boardroom and the CEO. We do have good funding because we're a central business district council, and we use that position to take these kind of positions, because if we didn't do this, the energy network resale would have been sitting back waiting for the last minute until they absolutely have to do this, because they make money out of selling us electricity because it becomes a street light. So there's no incentive for the energy network owners to do this kind of project, but obviously there is an incentive for us. So we are getting good traction on this, and the network owner is now looking at how it goes about to retrofit the other hundreds of thousands of lights across Australia. This is the renewable energy fund that I've talked about. We've got $12 million in there. At the moment, phase 1 is about $4.5 million, about 1.8 megawatts. And we chose 30 buildings, and that was out of 125, and that was really based on having a suitable roof area, and also those buildings which had a higher energy use, because if we export the PV energy off that site, we end up pushing it into the wholesale electricity market, and we get a very low price for it, and therefore the value of the project goes down. So in order to keep the paybacks up, we put the PV on the buildings where the energy is being used. But that's one of the regulatory barriers we've identified, and we continue to lobby and work with the state government to try and get those barriers removed. And I suppose the other way we're getting around it too is that we're engaging an organisation to a metering agent or an energy retailer who can put meters on these buildings. And so if we overproduce on one building, we can take that energy use off the bill of another building that doesn't have PV on it, and all we pay is the distribution use of system charge. So that has more value than getting the wholesale price, but it still doesn't get the true value of the energy, and that's really what PV is about. We really invest in. Fire generation, and we are looking to install that in our own buildings, and with our own buildings, use them as a catalyst for the network. So if we're going to be installing Trigen at Town Hall, in our commercial building, in our main town hall there on the left-hand side, we could oversize that and use that as the starting of the network to put in insulated hot water pipes to the surrounding buildings, which you can see there, some of which we own, some of which commercially owned, and actually start the feeding that network, actually building that network out over time. We also have all of our fleet. We have Priuses for all our full vehicles. They've now been all converted to, well, the majority of them converted to electric vehicles as well. This is an interesting one because the electric vehicles don't actually save us any greenhouse compared to the Priuses. The Priuses are doing pretty good, and these, because our grid is so bad, don't actually save us much electricity. But what we have done is increase the amount of PV that we put in our own buildings, which can then offset the electricity consumption of these cars. So I think the electric vehicle is the way to go, but you've just got to be making sure that you've got the renewable electricity to drive and make sure that therefore they're low emissions. And they, look, they're quiet, there's a noise impact, and then also they have lower emissions on cities, so better for air quality as well in the city. I just wanted to briefly talk about climate change. I've just got a few more minutes before 11 o'clock. So that's sort of all the green infrastructure side of things, but also, look, we've got to be really quite honest about the impact of climate change going forward. We've got climate change scenarios of, I think, 40 centimetres by 2050 and 90 centimetres by 2100 in terms of sea level rise in the city. And we've also done some climate change adaptation or vulnerability mapping across the city. And the circle there is obviously LCS and the LTA. The two big issues that we found, this fire is not an issue for us, of course, we're in the middle of the city, but one of the issues for us is heat island impact. So yes, you've got heat stress on that's got a physiological impact on especially the older and more vulnerable parts of the population. But also for every degree increase in the local area, we're going to probably see an 8.5 to 10% increase in peak energy use as well. And that's a really big issue also economically, because we have just gone through a huge phase of investment in New South Wales. I think it's $12.5 billion in energy network upgrades, and that's because of peak energy